Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. Before the weekend, I talked about the Atlanta Braves offense getting back on track and having the potential to do so against the Dodgers pitching staff where they faced James Paxton, Gavin Stone. They did have to face Tyler Glasnow. No one's going to, bash you for only getting 2 runs there. But they go pretty much lifeless against Paxton, pretty much lifeless against Gavin Stone, 2 guys that you figured they could be able to take advantage of. And the struggles of this offense continue, and they lose 5 out of 6, get swept by the Dodgers. This is about as bad as of a stretch as I've seen in the Braves in a long while. Now, my panic meter is still as close to 0 as possible, but the frustration watching it, we just haven't really had a lot of this in a long time. I mean, the Braves haven't been in second place since April of 2022. Like, think about that. Like, this is a team that has been in first place, dominated the division for pretty much 2 years. Like, this is a team that we are used to just never seeing these kind of stretches from. And every other team has them. And every other team, is like, oh, it's all good. Braves haven't had them. They're having one right now. So this is what the rest of baseball feels like a lot of times.
Yeah, not only are they playing bad, but the Phillies are playing tremendous baseball, maybe the best baseball in the sport right now, other than maybe the Dodgers, who we just had to face. And Seattle as well. Like, we just played 2 of the best teams, hottest teams in baseball right now. Seattle's pitching is on fire, and we only win 1 game on this West Coast road trip. And a lot of it has to do with the bats. We're going to talk about it, and I see everybody complaining about the pitching and Bryce Elder. We're going to touch on that in a little bit more. And yeah, the bats haven't woken up, but it feels like they're knocking on the door. I saw plenty of stats, nerds through Excel spreadsheets telling me that Michael Harris is due. Matt Olson is due. Matt Olson's hitting the piss out of the ball. He's due. And I do believe that because both of those guys in particular, have a track record. Matt Olson's is a little bit longer than Michael Harris's, but the same could be said for everybody who's really struggling in the Braves lineup. Now the bottom of the lineup is really struggling while it was keeping the top 3 guys afloat. Now it's time for them to pull their weight. And, I again, with this doom and gloom and sky is falling, it gets exhausting. I can appreciate we watch the Braves, 6 days a week. You kind of feel a part of them. And when we're going through this rough stretch, it's like hard to kind of watch them. I get that, but let's not act like we're the worst. I saw this meme about a Braves fan drowning, and then it zoomed out and he was like on his knees. All he had to do was stand up. And that kind of, that metaphor of like the Braves, the sky is falling, and reality is we're going to be fine. And it's okay to complain in the moment. But this whole doom and gloom and the sky is falling, the Braves season is over, gets exhausting. And I know what you're going to say. This is just Braves fans. This is just baseball fans, living and dying on every single 1:00 game on a Sunday. It's just exhausting. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what's been exhausting is watching the Atlanta Braves. I mean, listen, it really has been exhausting. Like, I don't blame people for complaining, like, if you're doing so, and the fact that it's been terrible to watch. I mean, I'm serious. I can't remember, and I know a lot of teams go through this. I can't remember the last time the Braves went through a stretch that was this bad. I mean, averaging basically like a little more than 2 runs a game over, a 10-game stretch. It's been a tough watch. And I think that if you're going to look at the concerns that you're looking for the long thing, there were some positives this week. Austin Riley and Ronald Acuna started hitting. I think Matt Olson is close.
Turning the corner.
I think all 3 of those guys are showing some signs. The things that I'm more worried about are the Jared Kelenics of the world. Jared Kelenic has been downright awful with the bat. Now, he's been amazing with the glove, made several fantastic defensive plays. And if he's out there playing great defense, you only need him to be serviceable with the bat. But recently, he hasn't even been serviceable. I mean, it's been a very tough watch every time he gets up there. He's getting fooled by every breaking pitch that's thrown to him, which was really the issues that he had in Seattle. The guy can hit fastballs. The problem is he chases a lot of curveballs and struggles against them. We're seeing that a lot. Hopefully he can turn that around. We knew it was going to be a process, but if you want to talk about things actually to be worried about, Kelenic, maybe Arcia too. Arcia is really struggling, but I will say every time Arcia goes through one of these stretch, the other side, there's the hottest Arcia we've ever seen at the end of it. So I'm not going to, say, but you know how I feel about Arcia. Like, I've never been a big Orlando Arcia guy. I've always thought he was going to come down to earth and be, an average shortstop, which is what he's been for most of his career, a guy that's right around replacement level. Those are the 2 guys that I think if you're going to point at this entire thing, Sean Murphy should be coming back soon. Those are the 2 guys at the problem areas, I would say, in this lineup that are legitimate problem areas.
Yeah, but and again, if you expect them, which most reasonable baseball fans expected Orlando Arcia and Kelenic and just the left field platoon in general to not carry the weight of this offense. Like, everybody was surprised when those were the two spots at the beginning of the season that were carrying the offense along with Marcell Ozuna. And I think, everything is going to, go back to the middle. Arcia is not going to be an all-star shortstop for the entirety of the 2023-2024 campaign. But in that same breath, Matt Olson isn't going to be batting below 200. Ronald Acuna Jr. is not going to have an OPS below 800. Same with Austin Riley. Like, once those guys start carrying their weight, the sores are going to look less worse than they really do right now when nobody is hitting.
It's also contagious. I mean, hitting is the most contagious thing in this sport. I mean, for some reason, everyone is slumping. When those hot guys start getting hotter, those at-bats at the end of the lineup for those Kelenics and Arcias and even Ozunas start getting a lot easier because, pitchers are in trouble. Pitching with runners on base, you get them out of this comfortable thing that they've been pitching in, which has been rare. I mean, the one thing that the Braves have constantly done over the last several years is put pressure, make pitchers uncomfortable, 1 through 9. Everyone can pick each other up. It's rare that you see pitchers pitch this comfortably with no traffic on the bases, getting a lot of strikeouts, not walking a lot of batters. Like, the guys that are pitching against the Braves right now, and rightfully so, feel comfortable. And that's something that the Braves, when you face this lineup in the past, has not been the case. I don't think it's going to be the case forever, but right now, I mean, you can tell it is not the same pressure 1 through 9 that they are typical of putting on teams and opposing pitchers.
Yeah, and I think that is where the issues arise from. It has nothing to do with the pitching, starting or bullpen. I know there were some, really bad performances, particularly against the Dodgers, but for the most part, those have been the strengths of this roster for much of the season. It hasn't been the offense; it's been the starters along with the relievers. So, if we're talking problems and we're ranking them, it's the offense and then it's everything else. It has nothing to do with the pitching, and you're a complete buffoon if you think otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers have one of the best lineups in all of baseball.
Yeah, their top 3 guys are like, how about 1,200 OPS?
Struggling with a Dodgers lineup is something that you should never be alarmed about. I mean, they can hit the best of the best pitching, but I actually thought the Braves did pretty well all week. I mean, they gave up 5 runs in Game 3, a couple of home runs from Max Fried. That was really all the damage they did. I thought Fried looked good, and he was great the 2 starts prior. Charlie Morton was fantastic in Game 1, and then Bryce Elder threw out a stinker. And yes, Bryce Elder is not the world's best pitcher. There's going to be some stinkers if that's anything that we've learned. We're going to get into I want to talk a lot about Bryce Elder, AJ Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop, because yes, there is the chance that Bryce Elder is eventually replaced by them. But I do think the hate right now is completely overblown. I mean, we're talking about a Dodgers lineup that can make anyone look average.